Keep it high, keep it tight. It's Jay Morse, a review guy, back to bring you another 5-minute review. If you'd like to participate in the shout-out, be subscribed to the channel, like the video, and leave any comment. Very sorry that I was not able to post a video yesterday, but I want to continue doing the 500 sub special and make a review every single day. I might compensate and do 2 today, depending on how it goes. We'll see. But yeah, I was dealing with some real life stuff and just couldn't get it out. But we're continuing onward. So today I'm going to be reviewing the self-titled album by the British rock band or metal band Asking Alexandria. This was a stylistic change for the band. For their last album, The Black, which had a different vocalist, Dennis Stoff, he only was there for one album where previously it had been Danny Worsnop doing all of the vocals for the band. And on supposedly good terms, Danny left the band to work on more solo stuff, and he just needed a break, so he worked on his hard rock supergroup, We Are Harlot, and he also released his country first, release, I guess. And both of those, the We Are Harlot band as well as his country album, are pretty good, and you can definitely see the influences that he got from working on those albums and brought it over to Asking Alexandria. And it's kind of like Sempiternal and That's the Spirit did for Bring the Horizon, where Asking Alexandria's style completely veered off for this album. And it's interesting. It's very interesting. And I think that whereas this might not be their most engaging album to listen to, it's not their best album. I'm going to come out and say that. I still think albums like Reckless and Relentless, Stand Up and Scream, From Death to Destiny, I still think they're superior albums, but this is their most mature album when it comes to lyricism and the way that it was composed as a whole. And I think that this was an album that they brought in a lot of different types of genres to formulate this album. I mean, you got electronics, you have hard rock, you have metalcore, you have alternative metal, alternative rock, you have kind of electronicore, you have kind of this acoustic type of playing, and it's great. It really is great. I think that this is an album that really does what it's meant to do well, and I feel as if they would have done anything different with this album, it might have been received better. If they would have just made another album like Stand Up and Scream, the fans would have been just as divided, because you would have one side being like, hey, you really should, you are copying your old stuff. You are doing your old material. You sound too much like your earlier stuff. And then you're going to have the rest of the side that are just like, wow, this is really heavy. This is just like the original stuff. We have Asking Alexandria back as they used to be. But this is a mature work. This is a different work. And bands evolve. And they don't stay the same. They don't keep to one style. I mean, some do, and it can work for some, but for the most part, they change, they evolve. They do things that are stylistically different than their previous material, and it's their way of growing, and it's just like people's music tastes change. I mean, most of the time, people listen to different music 15, 20 years after that are different than what they listened to 15 or 20 years before. And Asking Alexandria's been around quite a bit. So it's like they kind of, their interests probably changed. And Danny definitely took that inspiration from We Are Harlot and his solo work and brought it over, especially on a song like Vultures. You can see that country influence. And on Into the Fire, it sounds very hard rock type of music. And it's a great album. And it's not bad. It's just not their best. And there are still some songs that I love to go back to because they're just very, very personal. And that's another thing. You can really tell with the lyrics that Danny really was in a lot of pain when he was writing this or before, and he was reflecting in remembrance on what it was like before. And it's very sad to kind of behold the type of pain that Danny was in. And on a song like Where Did It Go? Or I think, is that what it is? Yeah, Where Did It Go? That song is so, it sums up the fan base so well, because unfortunately, a lot of bands in this metalcore subgenre get a lot of bad rep, and they're fit into their little box, and people don't want them to be any other way, or they don't like how they currently are. And it's just, it's kind of, it's sad to see that bands like this can get it. But this is an 8 out of 10 album for me. I think that there's a lot of catchy riffs. It's definitely worth checking out if you are either a fan of Asking Alexandria or just want to get into their discography. Although From Death to Destiny is more of a kind of accurate representation of how their sounds throughout their discography. This album is not really like the rest of their stuff. There's some songs in between that kind of sound somewhat like it, like Eve sounds a lot like a lot of their earlier stuff. But other than that, I would highly suggest checking this album out. Check out the rest of their discography. Keep it high, keep it tight, like and subscribe. I'm out. Jay Morris, the review guy, saying farewell.